Welcome to The Reconnect with Carmen LaBerge. We're applying the mind of Christ to the matters of the day so that you can connect the eternal with the everyday and get ready to head out into the world that God so loves in ways that honor Jesus. So let's get started. This is The Reconnect.
Inspiring you to bring God back into the conversation of the day.
This is The Reconnect with Carmen LaBerge on Faith Radio.
If we're gonna fly, we fly like eagles, arms out wide. If we're gonna fear, we fear no evil. We will rise. By your power we will go. By your spirit we are bold. If we're gonna stand, we stand as giants. If we're gonna walk, we walk as lions.
Hello, my friend. Today is the 11th of August. I'm Carmen LaBerge. What's the cost of a fuse? If you have replaced a fuse recently, I'd like to know what kind. I'd like to know what it costs. Text line's open, 877-933-2484. What's the cost of a fuse? And if you're in the fuse market, you're saying to yourself, well, that depends. I mean, a standard car fuse, that may only cost you $1. But a short fuse? If you've got a short fuse, you know how costly that is. You know how costly your short fuse is in your day-to-day relationships. It's possible that your short fuse has cost you a job. It's possible that it's cost you a significant relationship. I guarantee you that if you've got a short fuse, the cost of it is a lot of relational or reputational capital. A short fuse is really costly. That's actually the question that is provoked by today's Growing Your Faith verse of the day. So where in the Word are you today? We want to let God speak to us through that which He's already spoken, His living and eternal Word. And so let's get ourselves into the Word of God to prepare ourselves to get out there into the world that God so loves. Because it's going to try to light your fuse today. I'm just telling you right now, the world is going to try to light your fuse. So our Growing Your Faith verse of the day comes from Proverbs 14, verse 29. Whoever is patient, slow to anger is another way that's translated. Whoever is slow to anger demonstrates great understanding. The one who is quick-tempered, or the one who has a short fuse, displays folly, foolishness. So whoever's slow to anger demonstrates the depth of their understanding, and the one who has a short fuse, the one who is quick-tempered, the one who is quick to anger, displays foolishness. So which is it, my friend? We live in a culture that reacts at the speed of a push notification. Patience, or being slow to anger, feels like a lost spiritual discipline. It certainly feels like a lost relational art. Outrage is everywhere. It's modeled, it's encouraged, it's even rewarded today. We live in a world with a very short fuse. I mean, people can get enraged over just about anything. When's the last time you got cut off in traffic? Proverbs 14:29. God's wisdom demonstrates the high cost of a short fuse and the value of being a person who's slow to anger, slow to pick up offenses, slow to respond in the way the world is provoking us to respond. King Solomon writes that being slow to anger is a sign of great understanding, wisdom. Being slow to anger, having a long fuse, is a sign of wisdom. Having a short fuse, yeah, it's a sign of foolishness. A person who is slow to anger, a person who has great understanding, sees the bigger picture, understands human frailty, understands the reality of time, the power of words, the redemptive narrative of human history, the reality of grace and our need for it. When we pause before reacting, We create space for the Holy Spirit to not only guide our response, but to infuse the relationship, the moment. So I'm going to encourage you to refuse to pick up offenses today. Refuse. Ooh, there's a good word. Let's think about refusing. Maybe your fuse is short and you know you need to refuse. No lighting the fuse today. No short fuse. Refuse. Maybe that would be a play on words that you could work into your thought process. And when somebody is, or the world is, seeking to light your fuse, you could actually just say to yourself, no, Proverbs 14:29, I'm going to refuse. I'm not willing to pay the cost, to pay the price of a short fuse. You're going to need that today, by the way, slow to anger, because being slow to anger doesn't mean we don't care. I think it means we care enough to cultivate the mind of Christ and the Spirit of Christ in the matters of the day and bring those to bear. And you're going to need that as you encounter the headlines of the day. We are just a little over 10 days into August. August is proving to be a dark month for the sanctity of life in America. Yesterday, the Democratic governor of Massachusetts signed into law a bill allowing abortion at any point in pregnancy with no limits. Massachusetts becomes the 11th state to impose no limits on abortion, removes all restrictions on abortion. Now, Massachusetts only had restrictions on abortion after 24 weeks. So we are now talking about extreme late-term abortion. We are talking about the elective late-term abortion done based on, quote, the professional judgment of the physician. That's it. And to be clear, when we're talking about the abortion of a child after 24 weeks, all the way up to the point of death, we are talking about the termination of a fully formed unborn person. I will not describe to you what is required in order to, at that point in a pregnancy, remove a child from their mother's womb and yet prevent them from being born alive. But you could imagine just how barbaric that is. What are we doing? Who have we become? How could this be? And how could we recover a moral standard that appreciates, preserves, protects, and welcomes children as a sacred trust? You can't have a short fuse if you're going to have a deliberate conversation about this. On the other end of the life spectrum, on the sanctity of life spectrum, also this week, the Medical Aid in Dying Act officially took effect in the state of New York. And we're going to discuss that on several occasions. We'll discuss it in hour 2 today with Dr. Brett Nix, but we'll discuss it in coming days and weeks as well because it's big. It's big. New York's a big state, and participating in the active death, aiding people as they actively commit suicide is a big deal. But at the confluence of headlines today, Nick Pitts is going to join us next. And we're going to talk about one of those headlines where there are so many worldview issues that you have to hit the pause button and say, now, wait a minute. What does that say? Former NBA players, former NBA first-round picks have declared for the 2027 WNBA draft? Wait, what? That's up next here on The Reconnect. Hey, our friend Nick Pitts is back with us from the Institute for Global Engagement. You can read what Nick is thinking and sign up for his free newsletter at thebriefing.net. Hey, Nick.
Why, hello, Carmen. Happy Tuesday to you.
Happy Tuesday. Yesterday, I learned from you that it was Lazy Day. What did you do on your lazy day?
Unfortunately, Carmen, I failed to celebrate Lazy Day for all it's worth. This is really just becoming an issue, and so I honored it in spirit by acknowledging it, but I failed for my actions to give it the proper due that it would be suitable.
I feel like the proper expression of lazy day definitely involves a hammock and no electronic devices.
Oh, oh.
Hmm.
Left to my own thoughts, that's a scary proposition, but I think a
Hmm.
worthy one, Doug.
Hmm. Okay, so we have a confluence of headlines here that I think is actually kind of fun because we could talk about like primaries. There are primaries today in Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin. And there is a person who's a Republican candidate in Minnesota's Senate primary today who is also in another headline related to women. No, well, the WNBA, but actually biological men potentially playing in the WNBA. What is happening? What is
First,
happening?
first off, what a time to be alive, y'all. What a time to be alive. Such may you live in interesting days has been exceeded far and beyond. So, over the weekend, really late on Friday, you have two former NBA players, Enes Kanter and Royce White. Both high draft picks, I should mind you. So it's not like they're nothing kind of flameouts. The two individuals that have since retired from the NBA are trying to take advantage of some of the ambiguity that the WNBA has offered around their rules for can men participate in women's sports underneath the guise of the transgender issue. WNBA, in an attempt to be as inclusive as possible, has not properly, I would argue, defined the limits relative to what is a woman and who can participate in their league. And so these two individuals are taking advantage of that by declaring for the WNBA draft. What will be interesting over the coming days is how the WNBA is going to handle that. It appears as though their commissioner has put forward some language and some processes to try to get to the bottom of it. But we'll see how she ends up coming down on. But for me, Mr. White, who's got a checkered past to say the least in the NBA, is running for congressional office as well, and Cantor, who has kind of made his way into the headlines for some of these cultural issues of late. Over a variety of things, it does raise the question for me, if thinking biblically, what's the role of mocking, right? Because to a
Because
certain
it does
degree,
this does feel like mocking, right? These guys are
yeah,
not doing this because they actually identify as women.
yep.
Okay.
So, should we mock others? Is where I'm started to think about this, and so that kind of sent me into a deep dive, which proved to be pretty beneficial for my own soul. How does the Bible speak about mocking? So, in some instances, you see the Proverbs in Proverbs 1 saying, kind of it casts aspersions, kind of looks down on the tactic. Others, we all remember from 1 Kings 18 with Elijah mocking the gods, the gods and the prophets of Baal by saying, "Is your God sleeping? Is he restoring himself right now? Why is he not answering your call?" And then you see that mocking, and probably one of the highest moments, is leveled against our King Jesus when he is on the cross. And I found this fascinating quote from Francis Schaeffer, just really provocative in my thinking of mocking in and of itself. There is really, that's not the primary issue when it comes to mocking. It's really the heart behind the mocker, right? And so he writes in The God Who's There, he says that I need to remind myself constantly that this is not a game I'm playing. If I begin to enjoy it as a kind of intellectual exercise, then I'm cruel and can expect no real spiritual results. As I push the man off his false balance, he must be able to feel that I care for him. Essentially, what Schaefer is arguing is the idea of mocking can be used for the good when it helps individuals come to a cognitive dissonance that their worldview is not conforming and shaping up to to reality, helps them to see the absurdness of their beliefs. But if you're simply just trying to delight in evil and delight in wrong, mocking others can be derisive. It can be not a worthy pursuit of the person that's following after Christ. That was helpful for me when thinking through this in particular, in that there is a sense of we're asking ourselves a very rudimentary question: what is a woman? And it should seem pretty clear for individuals of the distinctions between a man and a woman. And so when they don't see those clear distinctions, mocking can be a way, if your heart is right, to help highlight the error of their ways, but also not just that, point them toward a better way.
Mm-hmm. I think that one of the ways I'm thinking about this is, okay, the devil can't stand to be mocked, but neither, by the way, does God. I mean, God will not be mocked, and God's image bearers ought not be mocked. But there are times, or maybe it's an and, not a but, we as people of faith who see things clearly, like, we do have a role and responsibility in helping everyone and the emperor himself see that he has no clothes. So I think that what you're talking about is the heart motivation behind why we would be saying or doing something. And if it is in order to mock God or his image bearers, then it's not out of the right attitude. And that's really imperative. If it is to mock the devil and to help others see what they're not seeing, then that motivation might be actually like holy, legit. And so am I kind of getting it?
Oh, yeah. So I'll bring to mind two ideas. One, what we know from Jeremiah, as well as all the way from Psalm 139, right? Like, who knows the human heart? We don't know. Only the Maker knows the heart. And so I can't claim to know the motivations of Mr. Cantor and Mr. White relative to their attempts to mock the process for the WNBA draft. I do know if their heart's in the right place, it could be illuminating a pretty pivotal point for them to be able to define and identify what is a woman and what is a man. But it also reminds me of the line from Shakespeare. I think it's Sonnet 39. He says that jesters do oft prove to be prophets, right? The idea of laughter, the idea of mocking in a good place can often prove to be a way to tell the truth. In an ideal world with minds that are not broken, we can rationalize our way to thinking rightly and acting rightly, right? It's the idea, but the reality is that we live in a broken world, and just as there's an emphasis so much on you don't trust your feelings, we also shouldn't trust our minds as well. Our minds are just as broken as our feelings and our hearts. And so you can't reason your way into right thinking. It takes the work of the one who is right and who has made us right to get us to that place. And perhaps he could use mocking if it's done with a pure and upright heart.
Next up with Nick Pitts, the debate on whether or not a burrito should cost $20. Dun, dun, dun. That's up next here on The Reconnect. Have you ever been to visit a new place, maybe even a new church, and you're like, who are these people? What are they all about? And what are all the various things that they're offering? Well, maybe you're feeling a little bit that way about what you've stumbled upon here at The Reconnect or at Faith Radio. Well, welcome, first of all. You're not here by accident. I totally trust that this is like a divine appointment that God has set, and I'm thrilled to be sharing in this time with you. But if you're new to The Reconnect or to Faith Radio, we would love to share a little bit more about who we are and all the other stuff that we're doing. You can request a welcome pack. It includes goodies and swag and information on ways that you can connect and grow in your faith. You can request your welcome pack right now. Text the word welcome to 877-933-2484. Again, text the word welcome to 877-933-2484. You can follow the link, or you can also request one at myfaithradio.com. In fact, I think of myfaithradio.com as kind of the one-stop point for all things Faith Radio. That's where you can connect not only to the show, but to previous episodes of the show via podcast. You can check out the other things that we're offering. You can not just get a welcome pack, but there's just any endless number of things that you can do at myfaithradio.com. In addition to requesting your welcome pack, just let me encourage you to just take a little tour, walk around, get to know us, and then
In turn, we'd love to get to know you.
Okay, I have done the research, and it is hard to find a burrito within the reasonable driving radius of my house that costs more than $10. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, I do not live in a $20 burrito market. But Nick Pitts is going to tell us why this is a cultural talking point.
Oh boy! So such is the times that we live in right now, and so there's a debate that's been happening over the past week in GOP circles around a viral tweet relative to someone within a TPUSA, which is a conservative group's chapter, that says that you shouldn't have to pay $20 for a burrito. And now, for most of us, for those of us, I'll say there's some that would say, well, of course you shouldn't have to pay $20. Well, why is this person paying $20? What is in this delicious, glorious burrito that would put its price above $20? But reality of what we know is that this person was younger, and there's a higher propensity that this person likely used a DoorDash or food delivery service, and so what was probably a $10 to $12 burrito, when you add the service fee, the delivery fee, and the tip, probably sent it above $20, which has sparked now this national uproar around should there be a $20 burritos, and two camps have kind of morphed into this, including our very own vice president. There is one that would indicate that, yeah, we are living in a time in which inflation and prices have gotten pretty high. Hence the affordability conversation that continues to roil over every side of the political aisle. And so, just if you look over the past 5 years, grocery prices have increased by 31%. Food away from home, which is the category that describes restaurant prices, have gone up over 36%. And then from a taxing standpoint, you can see that certain jurisdictions are more heavily onerous on food taxes than others. A study found that a McDonald's Big Mac costs $4.36 in Austin and $7.06 in Seattle. So we have that one side of the debate that is saying, yes, inflation is an issue. Yes, there shouldn't be $20 burritos. This is a reason to press. So there's that one side. And then there's another side that indicates, well, there shouldn't be $20 burritos. You should just make your own burrito. You can go to the grocery store and get ingredients, so you don't have to pay the service fee. You don't have to pay restaurant workers to make it. You don't have to pay tips. You don't have to pay those taxes for food delivery services, et cetera. That this is indicative of a lifestyle creep, that we need to reset expectations for how we are to eat and kind of do lunch and dinner. Instead of going out all the time, perhaps we stay in and make it ourselves for a more modest price. And so these conversations have roiled the online debate as of late.
If you've never made a burrito at home, this is definitely the way to go. And maybe Nick, maybe I should teach people. Maybe people don't know. I mean, maybe people don't know. Mm-hmm.
I would dare say that there are, if a YouTube is any indication, there are a growing number of individuals that have a great need for someone to help and to show them how to do tasks such as making burritos.
I can teach you how to make a large, massive, loaded homemade burrito for $3 to $5. And so you could have like at least 4 of them for a $20 budget. I'm saying you could, So I'm here for you. It's Taste and See Tuesday. Maybe we should break away and have a video segment where I teach people how to make burritos at home. I just feel like this could be a service of the show.
That would be delectable, but this also raises a pretty important question, Carmen, for you. And so I'm going to turn the tables. So with your burritos, if there is a preference that you have to give, is there queso that is on the burrito, or is it guacamole? If it had to be one or the other, you can't say both in this age of abundance.
Mm-hmm. I'm going, if I have to choose, I'm going with an avocado.
Of course you're healthy. Of course,
I'm probably just slicing my avocado in there. I'm not bothering to make guac. I'm just slicing an avocado in there.
Man, don't get me wrong. There is something quite delectable relative to just the texture of an avocado and the
Mm-hmm.
coolness that it brings
Mm-hmm.
to a bite. But really, it's really hard to top just malted,
Okay,
melted
can I
cheese.
not can I not have my queso and chips as like a side item? Do I have to? Does it
Oh, now
all?
now we got
I
to
mean,
talk about this lifestyle creep that we just were referring to, Carmen. Both avocado and queso. A king over
I
there, a
know.
queen over there. So yeah,
Exactly.
it
Exactly.
is really it's fascinating. I think in my mind, both can be true, right? We have seen this significant surge in prices over the past 5 years just because the sheer infusion of money. But in addition, we've just seen a lifestyle creep. It's readily apparent for those of my age and younger. I think back to my parents when eating out was a luxury, and now it's seen
Mm-hmm.
as a necessity for many. That it's lost its luster and appeal. In an ironic twist, now eating at home to many feels like a
Mm.
luxury. And just it's a reminder of the zeitgeist of the time that we're in right now, and especially if we bring it back to thinking about it with the mind of Christ, knowing the value in the biblical narrative in repeated instances of hospitality and welcoming and opening your home to an individual that perhaps is taxed because they're paying $25 for a burrito. Maybe it is welcoming them in for a no frills burrito making session that perhaps can see the hospitality offered by somebody that's following after Christ and come away loving and looking more like Christ because of it.
We have a friend named Jim in Simsbury, Connecticut, who has sent you a note on the text line. I feel like I remember a couple of years ago in August, Nick's dad had a birthday. It's weird that I remember that, but now I'm wondering, is he still the mayor of Clarksville? I love Nick. I love that Nick says, what a time to be alive. So there you go, Nick.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
August your dad's birthday month?
Oh, he is very much so. Great memory,
That's
Jim.
crazy,
It is.
right?
Thanks for the reminder. No, I'm just kidding. Old Joe turns a year older here in 4 days, and so
Oh my
I've
gosh.
got
Okay.
the gift. The gift is on the way.
Happy
Not
birthday,
a
Joe.
Yeah, and I don't know if my dad's listening, but I won't spoil the gift, but it is on the way, so I think he'll like it.
Oh, that's so good. Hey, thanks for being with us today. It's always a joy.
So good to be with you, Carmen. Have a great day.
Just wonderful. You too. That's Nick Pitts. You can find him. Well, the easiest place is just to go to thebriefing.net and sign up to get the briefing in your inbox. That's the easiest way to keep in touch with Nick. And that way you're not just like waiting for him to be on the show. You're getting his input in your inbox, and it's fun. It's delightful. So thebriefing.net. We'll send you the link on the text line 877-933-2484. Next up, our friend Luke Moon is going to join us. We're going to talk about, Israel has rejected the Trump-backed Gaza plan, but we'll also get caught up on some other things that are happening in the Near East. That's up next here on The Reconnect. Our friend Luke Moon is back from Generation Zion and Two Hammers. You can find him at twohammers.com. That's the best place to sign up to follow Luke and all that he is up to. Luke, welcome back.
Good morning, Carmen.
Good morning. Let's start with Gaza and the Gaza plan, or plans for Gaza, and the reaction of Israel to Trump's 15-point plan.
Yeah. Well, there is a 15-point plan that Trump put out there actually last September that included a big major provision, which was to disarm Hamas. Like Hamas, which is the terrorist organization that has been running Gaza for a long time, and they have to disarm. And Israel basically said, guys, there's no way we can be a part of this. Like the disarmament has to be absolutely complete. And the way it stands right now, what in the original provision, it said that total demilitarization of Gaza, which means get rid of all the guns. Okay. Instead, what the peace plan or what is now being implemented is they're going to put the guns in a warehouse. And then secondly, the concern is on the Israeli part is that there's going to be this international security force and they're going to patrol Gaza, essentially take the place of police. And Israel just doesn't have any faith that these people are going to actually restrain Hamas or keep Hamas from trying to kill IDF soldiers, etc. And so you have a situation where the international community has set up these kinds of things before. In southern Lebanon, there's this thing that basically it was intended to keep Hezbollah from arming and from collecting, rockets and missiles, etc., in southern Lebanon, and they didn't do anything at all. They didn't stop it at all. It grew. The number of missiles before the war started in October of 23, that there were some estimates of over 125,000 rockets and missiles aimed at Israel in southern Lebanon, in the same places where this international security force was supposed to be protecting and keeping and disarming and creating this demilitarization zone. So Israel has the experience of international security forces coming in and then not doing the very thing they said they were going to do. Because here's the reality is that Hamas isn't going to let go of their weapons without a fight. And the international security forces are not there to fight. They're there to get a paycheck. They're there to, look like they're doing something significant. But really, the reality is that they're not gonna risk their lives to take guns away from Hamas. It's just not, it's really not worth it. And the other factor is, Carmen, is that there's elections coming up in October in Israel, and Bibi has to look tough. He cannot look like he's weak, like he's caving to Trump's demands, that he's Trump's puppet, etc. Just as there's charges that Trump is Bibi's puppet here in the U.S., there's charges that Bibi is Trump's puppet in Israel, and so those are kind of the big factors behind all this.
If you're listening right now, you may remember that there is a U.S.-led Board of Peace. That is the international organization initiated by the President of the United States, launched in January of 2026, requires $1 billion cash buy-in. 20 to 25 nations have now joined or signed on. And when we talk about a, quote, Trump-backed Gaza plan, this 15-point plan, we are talking about something that it's not just the United States and Israel that are in conversation about this, but many other nations as well. And I think it's fair to say, Luke, that we don't yet know what the future of Gaza looks like, but there are now a number of nations actively participating in the conversation, and that at least feels positive. Feels like, this is not just Israel and a few others trying to figure out what to do. It does feel like there's more. Yeah. I mean, for the complexities that brings, but as positive as it is for there to be more voices at the table, it does feel like there are more voices at the table.
Oh, for sure. And they're good voices. I mean, I have several friends who are pretty high up in the Board of Peace stuff. And, they're doing their best. They have a mandate to bring about some kind of peace, a solution to this. And the reality is that these types of deals, they're not really thought about for the long term. They're like, how do we make it through tomorrow, next week, next month, next year? And the further you get out, the less willing the less time they're willing. They don't want to just waste their brain power thinking about, well, in 5 years it's going to be like this. They're just it's not worth it. And so it's a very immediate, what do we do next? It's very kind of, I don't know the word I'm looking for. It doesn't have a lot of thought, over too much thought going into it, as much as what do we do to make it work? It's very pragmatic. It's not overly profound.
Yeah, it's not overly ideological. It is
Yes,
pragmatic,
that's
and I think that's important to keep in mind. Okay, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Pakistan have signed a joint defense pact. I think when I think of joint defense pact, I think of NATO. What are we talking about when we're talking about Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan?
Well, I mean, you're right to kind of look at NATO as an option. That is probably the largest, probably most successful defense pack in a long, long time. And this one that was just created between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, all of those three nations are all Sunni nations. They're all Sunni Muslims, and so one could say it was somewhat like a Sunni pact. But yesterday the Houthis attacked Saudi Arabia, and I have yet to see whether or not Turkey or Pakistan have jumped in to attack the Houthis. There's a real example of if one's attacked, the other ones show up. And so I don't know. I think we'll have to see if this thing actually is real or if it's just kind of signaling to the world and kind of, there's some small level agreements on this stuff. But, if Saudi Arabia is attacked and the other two nations don't jump in, then how strong is that pact? I don't know.
Mhm. All right, let's take a brief break. When we come back, I'd like to turn our attention or pivot our attention here to issues in the United States. We're going to continue our conversation with Luke Moon in just a moment. We're going to talk about U.S. synagogues, which are focused now internally on security issues and how that's playing out in places like Maryland, where there are now laws restricting concealed carry near houses of worship, but also just how individual Jews are feeling about the rise in anti-Semitism in the United States. That's up next here on The Reconnect. When was the last time someone asked you to pray for them? When's the last time you asked someone to pray for you? Here at Faith Radio, we pray with and for you about the concerns in your life, and we share with you the concerns of others. We are a praying people. So we want to invite you to share your prayer request with us. Our team prays continually and intentionally once a week for the requests that we receive. And so share your prayer requests with Faith Radio by texting or calling 877-933-2484. You can share your prayer requests with us, and you can be confident that we are praying for you. If you're just wanted to type into your search bar anti-Semitism headlines in the United States, you're going to see things like Jewish communities turning to firearms training. You're going to see headlines like U.S. synagogues turn members into security teams. Many U.S. Jewish adults experienced assault and harassment over the past year. So we're going to talk with Luke Moon about anti-Semitism and the ongoing challenge and the rise of it here in the United States. So, Luke, you want to start with the Michigan Attorney General, or you want to start with what's going on with synagogues across the country?
Well, I'll weave them in together because they kind of go together, right?
Great.
So I think the Michigan Attorney General basically this last week said she's not going to go to the Democratic convention where all the nominees get through because she's afraid. She's afraid of being harassed. She's afraid of being booed on the stage. She's afraid of being followed around and screamed at. I mean, there's enough video online these days of, Dan Goldman who lost his primary here in New York State, actually in the city, has been, is Jewish and has, been a very huge critic of Trump, etc. And he was at a coffee shop getting a cup of coffee, and he was harassed at the coffee shop, and he ended up losing his primary because he wasn't zealous enough and anti-Israel enough, and that has become really a mainstay kind of issue. It's like a top tier issue within the Democratic Party, and it's also what we're finding, as you mentioned, kind of the security details, et cetera. It's amazing to me, Carmen, how like hardened synagogues are these days. I
Mm.
go to synagogues occasionally if I get invited to speak or invited to have some event, and everyone I go to has a metal detector, has cops out front, often has a multi-person security detail, and Leo Terrell, who is the U.S. He runs the National Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism for the Department of Justice. He calls it the Jewish tax because Jews are expected to pay significant amount of money for their protection, for security. I mean, I don't know about your church, Carmen, but my church has, it's pretty big. We have a cop will sit out front. We have a security team, but no one's going through metal detectors. There's multiple entrances, etc. That is not the case at any synagogue I know. There's one entrance. It has that two-step process where you go into a door and then, into another door, or it has metal detectors, or it has both. It's really outrageous, and I think it's one of the evidences that there's this particular hatred of the Jewish people, and I've said it a lot. The hatred of the Jewish people is rooted in the fact that they're the people by whom God brought His moral revelation into this world, and the world hates them. And all this stuff against them that we're seeing, all the harassment, the further the nation gets away from its biblical mooring, the more attacks against Jews we will see.
I think that just the fact that if you were to type Jewish tax or is there a Jewish tax in America into your search engine, and immediately it would come up with, well, not officially, but yes. And then there's this whole litany of the cost of community security and how much more it costs to be a Jew in community, going to school or going to synagogue or being at a Jewish community center in the United States, than to belong to the YMCA, let's say, or just think about the difference in the security at a Jewish community center at a JCC near you versus the security at the Y. Like, just think about those two realities. What kind of encouragement would you give us today, Luke, in terms of coming alongside Jewish schools in our communities, the Jewish Community Center? I mean, I just think that it never hurts to remind us of the good we can do as Christian neighbors.
Right. Well, we're coming up on the Jewish holidays. They'll start happening towards the end of the month. It's a real opportunity to just kind of, the Jewish New Year, they often, hand out treats to each other, and there's kind of, honey is something that is given in Jewish New Year, and maybe take a moment and to your Jewish community or someone who's Jewish, and reach out to them, say happy holidays. I mean, like these holidays that are coming up are holidays that Jesus himself celebrated.
Mm.
He has celebrated them multiple times. You have, and there, like it talks about it in the Gospels that he celebrated them. So these are in a sense, we could call them ours too, but this is the time of year where there's real opportunity to show your Jewish neighbors that they're not alone, they have friends, because they don't think they do most of the time.
All right, so you're talking about Rosh Hashanah,
Yeah,
September
and
11th to the 13th, Yom
yep,
Kippur, September 20th to the 21st. Um,
yep. And
I'm gonna
Sukkot
not,
is
yeah,
in early
Sukkot,
October,
yeah, September 25th to October 2nd. All
which
right,
in our
Hanukkah
Bible we
this
call it
year,
the Festival of Booths.
yeah, good. Festival of Booths, yes, September
Yes.
25th to October 2nd. Um,
Yep.
Hanukkah begins this year on December the 4th. So Hanukkah feels early this year, so that's kind of
It
fun.
is early.
I
Yeah.
mean, we might fully celebrate Hanukkah this year because, it's not interrupting Christmas. So I'm just saying, like, this is opportunities. Luke, as always, thank you for, helping us befriend our Jewish neighbors, keep them in view. Thank you for the way that you keep us connected to what is happening around the world. Thank you for what you do every day and for being here with us on the Reconnect.
Appreciate it, Carmen.
Yeah, it's mutual. You guys can connect with Luke Moon at twohammers.com. It's the number 2hammers.com. And that's where you can sign up to get, like Luke's email, and be sure you don't miss what he's doing over on YouTube and those kinds of things. So 2hammers, it's just the number 2hammers.com. All right, we got a couple of minutes here before the end of the hour. Yes, for those of you looking for those dates, Rosh Hashanah is September 11th to 13th, Yom Kippur, September 20th and 21st. Sukkot, or the Festival of Booths is the way you might know it, September 25th to October 2nd. It's, why would you put those on your calendar? Well, so you can be a good neighbor to Jews in your community, so that you can be praying in advance for their protection, their freedom to worship. And maybe that you can come alongside them. Maybe you in your own church could say, hey, these are holidays that Jesus celebrated, that the family of Jesus celebrated, that when we talk about the ways in which the Jews in the New Testament are going about doing things, these are the things they're going about doing. And they were doing them at the time under Roman occupation. And so what would that have been like? Like, all kinds of good conversations to have. It also leads you into conversation about the history of the Jews, what those holidays are about, where they're grounded in the Old Testament. It's a good Bible study in all of it as well. And I mean, you get to build a little booth. It's like camping for Festival of the Booths. So anyway, some of them are really fun. Okay. I do have a minute here. Jessica on the text line said, why are there not equal attacks on Christians? Here in the United States, I would say there are not equal attacks on Christians because we are the majority, even if only in name only. This is a, quote, Christian nation, nominally so, but that is why. In other places around the world, in answer to your question, where Christians are minorities, if you want to go to like persecution.com and you want to see those places around the world where Christians are openly, violently attacked because of their faith, that would be a window into what Jews experience everywhere in the world except Israel. Yeah. I mean, it's there ought to be a hard pause at the end of that conversation. We have another hour up next. We're going to turn our attention to some things happening around the world. There was a 7.4 magnitude earthquake in Colombia yesterday, the nation of Colombia. We'll touch on that. We'll pray for them. We're also going to have a little check-up with our good doctor, Dr. Brett Nix from the Christian Medical and Dental Association. And Rob Dayton will be back, and we're gonna talk about whether or not we really do take God at his word. Do you take God at his word? If God tells you to do something, if God's word tells you to do something, do you take him at his word? Do you do it? Hey, today is a drop day, launch day for Susie Larson's new book. And so we want to give you an opportunity to enter a drawing to win a copy of the book. And we've got a number of them to give away. So you can do that at myfaithradio.com. You're listening to The Reconnect. We got another hour up next. Thanks for listening to The Reconnect with Carmen LaBerge. Let us know how we can help you more fully reconnect the eternal with the everyday. We want to walk with you throughout your journey of discipleship, so let's connect. You can text us at 877-933-2484 or connect with us online at myfaithradio.com and on all our social media. I look forward to connecting with you as we each seek to reconnect the eternal with the everyday.